Welcome to the Artscene Online Music Business Workshop. I'm your host, Jonathan Shaw, and we are proudly sponsored by the National Arts Council. This is the 7th video in our 14-video series, and in this video we'll be looking at contracts and music publishing agreements. To understand how contracts work in the music business, it's often useful to understand the nature of the rights that get transferred in the industry. So the first example of those is a complete assignment of rights. And this is where your rights in your copyright get transferred in ownership completely to another party. Then there is an exclusive license. And here, the other party may receive the work, but often can only use that work for a limited period of time. And they also don't own the work outright. Then there is a non-exclusive license, and these types of licenses are often used en masse in the industry as well as to the public in general, and they are small licenses which are reduced in scope. So in other words, they have very few terms that you are able to use the work under, and so everybody out there is able to use the work using a non-exclusive license. So the different types of music publishing agreements that you have are the songwriter collaboration agreement, and in this agreement, two songwriters that have written a work together will often outline who does what kind of royalties there are in the agreement, what happens if a publisher gets involved. So all of these things that two songwriters need to be aware of when they work together. Then there is a single song publishing agreement. And this is often an agreement where a single songwriter will land up transferring the rights in one song to a publisher. And it's often a complete assignment or a deed of assignment that is transferring all the rights in one song over to a publisher. And there's very little leeway that the songwriter has often in these agreements. So they tend to transfer the work and that's it. It's a one-time deal. Then there's administration agreement, and in administration agreements, they are exclusive licenses to the publisher, but they often don't end up owning the work, and they do all the admin. So in other words, finding users, passing opportunities to the songwriter, concluding agreements, collecting the royalties, paying that money to the songwriter. So they are similar to a publishing agreement in general, but the artist and the songwriter has more leeway and more negotiating power in these types of agreements. Then there is a term songwriter agreement, and this allows the publisher to gain control and ownership of the work, but for a specific period of time, say 5 years, where the works do get transferred over to the publisher, but the songwriter often gets a little bit better deal, and there might be an advance of royalties beforehand. So these are a little bit more of a better deal for the songwriter. Then there's a co-publishing agreement, and these are often between two publishers, although there could be a songwriter and a publisher that co-own the work, and they then make decisions jointly and together about how this work is then going to make money for the parties involved. And then there's a sub-publishing agreement where it's often between publishers in different territories, and they gain the rights to use the catalogue of work of another publisher in a different territory in order to make money out of that particular catalogue that the publisher then represents. So that is it for the 7th video, and I will see you in the 8th video where we look at recording agreements.